Well, it is Monday, and that means it is time for Domain to Profit. I am Drew Wash. I'm your host. I'm here live, Cincinnati, Ohio, where it's sleeting, snowing, just generally nasty outside. Let's go to the outside cam. I'm just kidding. Okay. It's just what you're going to get today. So we are keeping it casual, keeping it cash. We're cash here in Domain to Profit. We're going to be talking about domain names, and we're going to do a little bit of review. This just so happens to be week 30, 30 weeks, 30 weeks, which is just absolutely insane. For those who, those who work with me know that keeping me focused on a task, especially something with routine times and dates with, Monday at 3:00 for 30 weeks in a row. Kind of curious who out there. I'm guessing Michael, because Michael's the man. Michael, have you been here 30 weeks? I'm sure it's been darn close. I know I've had quite a few of you that have joined me for many, many weeks. So thank you so much. And wish we can kind of go to the Zoom and just like bring people up. But I don't have that tech, nor do I have the desire to dive into getting that tech set up to bring people on and stuff. I'd like to do it, but the heart's not there. So we're going to do some review. I'm not going to run any music or anything like that. I think that's too formal. And here we go. So let me go to this. Hey, Michael, and he's saying hi, and then he says he's missed 2. So 2 out of 30, it's definitely an A. That's definitely an A. And if we grade on a curve, I pretty much guarantee it's the top one. So then we got Domain Observer. I don't know if I've seen that name come across before. So thanks for coming. Thanks for saying hi. And Dominic, always nice to see you as well. Thanks for joining. So over the course of 30 weeks, we've talked about all kinds of different things. We've talked about what the heck is domain development, what makes good domain development. We've talked about getting our first 300 customers. We haven't talked about that in a while, the local Legion 300. We'll review that a little bit today. We will go out to expireddomains.net and find some domain names to possibly build businesses on or to use for examples in our review. Then we'll also talk about the different types of businesses that go well with domain development. I have a list for you that we've talked about over the course of 30 weeks. Then, of course, we can review a little bit of the 3-minute business plan, which let me bring up the URL. Actually, I forgot I have the 3-minute setup. So down at this URL, it's going to appear down here. You can get this over here, which is the 3-minute business plan template, which, if you're evaluating a domain name and you're thinking, maybe this is the one, maybe this is the one that I can turn into a business. Hopefully it will help you, especially with those first dozen weeks from domain to profit, help you turn a domain name into a business that your market, the problem that you're going to solve, what your solution is going to be, and then the unique message. What can you tell people when you're calling them to tell what you're going to do? And then talk about the marketing, the awareness and authority and awareness, the 2 pieces of marketing that I talk about. But I don't think I've ever actually done a big show on those pieces, but I do that stuff every single day, so I'm not necessarily all that eager to talk about it here as well. But I do love marketing. I love authority and awareness. Everything falls under those 2 umbrellas. So part of being casual means I'm just going to kind of flip between the different topics. And to start, I want to go out to expireddomains.net and let's look up some domain names. We're going to do exactly what we've done on several different occasions, which is I'm over on expireddomains.net. I'm always open if anybody has any other websites that they use to search through expired domains. So I've went to marketplace domains, GoDaddy expired, which is what this one is here. And I'm going to set up my filters. I'm going to get rid of the hyphens, get rid of the numbers. I'm going to go English. I look for 1 to 3 words. If you're looking for low budget, you can even include in 4 words. I typically add in number of days. I'm going to just change this to 7 just to keep it within the next week. Then I go over to additional. And I make it .com only. Question I often get is, can you develop a domain name that is not a .com? And the answer to that is yes, you can. You can implement most of what we talk about on non.com domain names, but realistically, I'm a .com guy, and I believe in the authority piece that comes with a .com. So I've talked about that quite a bit. Just the .com's the preference. Go with .com. Go with .com. If at all possible, you can go with .com. I hear ice hitting the window, so that's fun stuff. Okay, so now that we have our filters into our expired domains, .net, should be 8 filters. Let's find out here. We're going to run this. Up 7 filters. I must be missing something. Oh, I know what it is. I want to see 200 domain names at a time. Actually, I'll just leave it here. I'll just leave it on these 7. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom in. So if you put those filters in your free, by the way, expireddomains.net account, you'll be able to see the exact same thing as what I'm seeing here. What we are looking for are domains that we believe are going to be good for development. And just saying hi there. Yeah, thanks for joining us again. And I have to admit, the first time I saw a comment from you, hot fix GH, I was like, oh my gosh, is somebody spamming me with like the name? I was like, what is it? Like hot chicks GH? Like I wasn't sure what was going on. I was worried we were getting spammed with the username with some inappropriate. Anyhow, I'm in the mood. Okay, accounting partners, nah. Prime software, brandable, but nah. Cyber homes, I'm going to mark that one. That has some SEO juice. That's what you can tell here. Hopefully that shows up. But you can see these numbers here. These are referring to some of the domains that are, I think this is number of domains linking to it, total number of links. That can be a positive or a negative, but in most cases, this old cyber homes, that's a good domain name. Guessing, let's see what it's going for, because I'm guessing it's going to rock it up. Yeah, it's already up over $1,000. I'm just going to click over to GoDaddy, get an idea of that. Ends in 6 days, already up over $1,000. So great domain name, but going to potentially be an expensive one. So we have endcancer.com. I will buy that domain name for anybody who can live up to what the domain name offers. Let's end cancer. Clothing, maybe a product, as marketing. Not really seeing much, and this is just the first page. Usually I'm already through all this. So I'm going to set up the filter to show 200 domains, even though I said I wasn't going to. I don't like to click on things. Okay, so what I'm going to do while I browse through domains a little bit is I'm going to try to talk about the different aspects of domain development that we've come up with over the course of 30 weeks now. 30 weeks. Madness. Telling my wife, it's like I didn't really think that I could do anything for like a long period of time. I am a man that I'm all over the place all the time. So the idea of sticking on topic, sticking to a hard deadline, which I do probably plan on, I'm trying to make the decision over the course of this hour, whether I continue to do a 3:00 show or whether I go to more of I just go live whenever I feel like it, instead of keeping a fixed 3:00. may change. Let's go to Skycam. And I want to show you this here. So we've talked about this quite a bit. This is what I use to, sorry about the movement on that. Hopefully you can see this. This is what I use to describe. This is our domain map. So this talks about how we develop a domain name. The domain name is the box. It is the foundation of everything we're going to build. Lots of people buy domain names. They buy them for low, hope to sell them for high. That's probably you as a domain developer. And then a lot of people will also say, well, I don't need an expensive domain name. I can just use any old domain name to build my business on, which is correct. You can build your business on any domain name that you want to, but what you've done is you're taking that domain name, and really what you're doing is working your tail off to build a building on that domain name. So this is your business, and it's really missing the point of what we try to talk about here on Domain to Profit, which is domain development specifically, which is a domain name that has authority, validation, like a level of potential that people want to get behind, and then scarcity. Those are the principles that kind of fall into a premium domain name. So whether it's a super expensive domain name as far as like, towing.com, for example, there's only one towing.com. It's very scarce. Lots of people would love to have it. And it has the authority around that domain, around that industry, which that authority and a premium.com, it adds a level of, trying not to look at the sheet, validation. It validates whatever's on there. People are going to assume that, oh, if it's on towing.com, it's valid. It's kind of like when you get spammed by somebody trying to phish you, you can just kind of hover over the link and see if it makes sense. Does that link even make sense? If it's a spam for, growing your business or something, and you kind of hover over the link and their domain name is grab-cash123-.net, like you can tell that it's garbage. But if you were hovering over an email that maybe doesn't look all that great, and the person that sent it, their signature is Bob at greatdomain.com or domain.com, and you can hover over it and actually see that that's like their actual domain name, that validates them, right? The format of their email may suck. It may look like garbage, but suddenly their domain name's kind of like, okay, well, you can't write a formatted email worth a darn, but your domain's really good. So that's kind of that validation piece. So if you have the right domain name, then voila, you have something of value. And we all know when we see a valuable domain name. And then all we're trying to do with our domain development, instead of building a building up here, we're trying to just tap in and remove revenue and value over the course of time. So that's why we a lot of times will go for monthly subscription. So this is time here, and we're just taking a little monthly subscription. We're monetizing our domain name. So you can kind of think of it as a lease. For example, if you owned a big apartment building, well, the space is there, maybe the location matters, and you're just trying to share that space with people over the course of time via rent. So hopefully that makes sense. We talk about that quite often, and that is the foundation of what a good domain for development looks like. The domain name gives you the power to start something. Sometimes we say that a domain name is the domain name gives you the idea. And I think both Peter, Askew, and I will say that the domain name will give you the idea, which is true. But honestly, it's not so much the idea. It gives you access to an industry. A good domain name that's set up for development will give you access to the industry. And then all you can do is with that access, you go to those people that you have access to now, and you're looking for their problems and their solutions. Now, a lot of the problems are problems that lots of other industries, entrepreneurs, people have, And that's kind of why it gives you your business already. We have a list that I'm going to share of many of the business types that fit well with domain development. And essentially, you can take a premium domain name, implement one of these, solving a problem that has already been identified for most industries. And as long as it applies to the industry that you're thinking about developing on, you have a business. Hopefully that kind of clears that up a little bit. But a domain name is not the idea name. A domain name is not the idea. The domain name is your access card. The domain name is your key, allowing you to have authority instantly, validation instantly to an industry. You can call, it's your foot in the door to where when you're calling on business owners, you can say that I am Drew with towing.com. My salespeople, they can call towing companies and say, hey, I'm with towing.com, and their emails say towing.com, and that validates who they are, what they're offering. Now they can weigh the merit of what we have as far as a solution for them based on what else we say, but we have a foot in the door. So that's what we're looking for with our domain name. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's kind of that piece that we've talked about quite a bit, which is the correct domain name for development. Any questions on domain development? What's the right domain name? Hopefully that's pretty clear. I feel like I've done that quite a bit to where it's like, I think that's pretty well explained. Top questions are often, can you do it on a non.com? The answer is yes, but it's harder. If you have to go and say, yes, this is Drew with towing.guru or something like that. You're going to lose that authority and so on. So hopefully the opposite, hopefully the examples of how a .com helps, you can run through with other domain names and kind of see how it loses like the authority or loses the validation. And at best, you're kind of just hoping to trick them into accepting you, which you don't want to do that. Like nobody wants to be tricked. So let's go back over to the screens here and check out some of these domain names some more. I missed it earlier, but there's swim pools. Swim pools, kind of a tolerable one, not something that I would want. Help finance, and not really loving it. Help. Zoom in on that. Hot sellers, beginning, doors, beauty and spa, Getstocks.com, I think that's not bad. That'd probably be good for like a course on what the heck stocks are. If you wanted to put together like an intellectual training type of thing, you can do something with that. It's Get Stocks. I don't think anyone that's already a professional in that industry would know what the heck that means or have an interest in that. But what you could do is target those who are just like interested in figuring out stocks. It could be a name of a course or like teaching people how to start to use their E-Trade or Robinhood account or something like that. Not anything in my wheelhouse by any means, but virtualproducts.com. That sounds fun. I like that one. Realistically, I deal in virtual products. We deal in virtual products when it comes to domain names. We have virtual pets, virtual conversations, virtual all kinds of things. I'm going to click on that one, see what, let's get some more information on that from GoDaddy. Hopefully it's actually available. Okay, up to $100, ending in about 5 days. They appraise it on the low side because I'm guessing it's going to be worth something. It is products with an S, which is good for our business model typically. However, virtual products. How would you develop it? What would you do with virtualproducts.com? I like it. I avoid product domains typically, but it does make sense. So here we go. pull up this question because I'm all for questions answered today, guys. This is casual. We're sitting around having a cup of coffee. Okay, Drew. Sorry, my screen is hiding your comment, so I can't read it. Okay, three-word domains can have all these characteristics. Yes, we have three-word domain names, and in fact, the question is whether a three-word domain name or even four-word domain name could have validation, authority, and so on. The answer is absolutely. In fact, before I would ever add or go to a non.com domain, for example, before I would go to a .net or a anything else, I would probably prefer to add a fourth word. So it would be a four-word domain or a three-word domain. I believe this kind of pigeontails into something I talked about in like week 1 or 2, which is you can add an action word. So get quotes, get domains, get towing services. Those are some of the ways that I could add a extra word. It's action based. Now you're going to lose the flexibility, which is, if you get that top level domain name like towing, for example, you have so much flexibility. We have more opportunities and ways that we can use that domain name than we even know what to do. Basically, we're paralyzed by the flexibility, where if you say get towing, for example, you would probably be pigeonholed a bit into specific services that you're offering through that domain name. So, yeah, but I would definitely go. You can use 4-word, 3-word domain names. I'm sure I have some. I'm sure I have some that I love. None that come to mind off the top of my head. None that are on my walls that I'm seeing. But we certainly hang our hat on 2-word keyword domains. Photo booths, helicopter rides, car transport are all some big domains that we run. That answers that. Social sustainability, unit shipping, low volt, mine. Is there any industry that anybody in particular is looking for? I love, last week we did, honeymoon cruise. Let me check on that one. Last week we did what was in the box, which was reverse domain naming. So the idea that in the box might be, I got this random pair of sunglasses on my desk. So a pair of sunglasses might have been in the box, and now we have to come up with a business and a domain name to go with that. And part of that might have been a 4-word domain name or a domain name that would be longer, because ultimately we just want to sell our sunglasses. Just today, Shane launched beehouse.com, or basically it's a honey business, and he's selling honey. Well, if you have honey and you want to sell it, you have to come up with the best possible domain name to go with your business. And that's how most of us get into domain names is we have the idea first and so on. But if you have to go up to 4 words in that case, you certainly go to 4 words. So honeymooncruises.com ends in 3 days. So 2 days, basically 3 days. And that one's going to be a pretty good domain name. I don't think I'm logged in, but nope, not going to let me. I got to log in. I'm not going to mess with it right now. So yeah, honeymooncruises.com, certainly making my list. Cannabis tools, kind of fun. Cannabis tools. I own a few cannabis domain names. So I got cannabisvapes.com. I got that from dropcatch.com a few months back. And then at the NamesCon auction, I bought one of the media options domains. I think it's cannabislovers.com, which I just love as like a forum type thing. But cannabis tools, the idea that you could sell like whatever it would be, some kind of silly silly tools, or I have no idea what even goes with it, but follow the money. Eventually, everybody's going to have something to sell for it instead of running around plastic baggies like some people have done back in high school and stuff. Maybe you can actually have tools to do that stuff. So, okay, anyhow, cannabis tools certainly making the list. So when you search for domains that you're interested in possibly developing, I'm kind of curious, what do? Do you start with your idea, or do you look through lists like this? And if so, what do you search for? What keywords are you looking for, or filters, I should say? What do you believe makes a good domain for development? What would you add to the image for authority, validation, scarcity? What else does a great domain development have? What other characteristics does it have? What am I missing? Would love to know your input. And here you go. Yeah, paraphernalia, exactly. I'm sure you tools, aka bongs or whatever else. Paraphernalia, exactly. Okay. College, good stuff. And I am back over on the screen, kind of looking down through here. So let me just take a minute. So who remembers the local Legion 300? Do you remember that? When I think it was week 2 or 3, I think it probably has as many views as anything else that we've ever talked about here on Domain to Profit. Is look, how do you get your first 300 customers? So maybe we purchased cannabistools.com, or we purchased, what are the other ones we've talked about? Anyhow, we'll go with this one down here. One on the list. Let me go back to the screen real quick. How about this one here? Learningmastery.com. I'm just going to add that to the list so that way we can talk about that. Just so happen to be timed well for this kind of topic. So let's say we own learningmastery.com. We purchased it, and what we want to do is put up a website that allows people to put their online courses on the site. They pay us a monthly fee to put their course on our website, and maybe that's it. They just pay us a monthly fee. We don't try to take any commissions or anything like that, like a lot of the courses. That's our in. We think that we can do a nice, simple task, monthly fee. Learningmastery.com. So how do you get your first 300 customers? Well, let's say that our trainers, the people that are training, are actually training courses to their local communities. So maybe maybe we want to get it local. So here's the part of local Legion 300 is being local. So maybe what they are teaching is pottery. So pottery learning masters, or art, those different paint by number, paint with wine type things. So once you have a local business that you want to develop, and you know that you want to take that business, put it online, and your customers are going to be local businesses. So think towing.com, for example. You have this nationwide domain name, and now you want to share it with local companies. Well, the local Legion 300 takes advantage of this idea. There are just over 300 cities in the United States that have a population of over 100,000 people. Just so happens to be a coincidence. I think it's like 314 cities have over 100,000 population. Why is that important? Well, where the population is, there's going to be a lot of businesses. And how many Starbucks per 1,000 person or per 10,000 people are there in your community? Chances are quite a bit. So you can follow that population, and all you have to do now, you develop your website, you have value for local companies, and then you call right down that list, top biggest city all the way down to the smallest city or somewhere in between. And you just need to find one customer that is the scrappy, first, competitive person that wants to use your website that you've now built as an advantage for their business. For example, we purchased ductcleaners.com from Peter, and ductcleaners.com. Every major city out there will have a service that will come out to your house, cut holes in your ducts, and vacuum out all the dust and everything else. It's a service that I believe runs $100 to a few $100 to do, and people do it every 5-10 years or so. Or after construction. In my case, I used it when we did construction at our house to get all the drywall dust out of our ventilation and so on. So ductcleaners.com, it's a very local service. So I'm in Cincinnati. I'm sure there's probably 20, 30 companies that offer the service in this area. And the local Legion 300 operates under this fact. Yeah, there's 20, 30 companies that will do it. We only need one of them. You get one in Cincinnati, one in Dayton, one in Columbus, one in Cleveland, one in Akron, and you get one in each of these major cities, and you just keep going down the list. You'll get your first 300 customers. Now, what would 300 customers for your little startup look like? If you say they're paying you $10 a month, $20 a month, you're talking about getting to your break-even numbers very quickly, all by just getting that first customer per city. So it's one of the reasons I steer a lot of what I purchase as far as domain names towards local business related domain names like towing.com. We share it locally, and you can get your first 300. And if you can break even and or make it to where like you can make that decision to leave your job or go full time into your business, as of 100, 200 companies, well, you can get to your 300. You have a plan to do that just by calling right down the list of companies in that industry. So it's the local Legion 300, one of the things that I use or teach as to how you can get to your first 300 customers using a nationwide premium domain name. So hopefully that is I know that's a good idea because we apply it, we use it. And whenever we go to add a new domain name, we kind of look at that as the foundation of what we can do. And we've even taken it a little bit further, and we can look at areas. Currently, we will look at our database of all of our companies and find the areas where we lack or maybe only have one company within a certain distance, and we can target them with like Facebook ads. So for example, there is a city in Texas that is a pretty big city. We have a list of the top 20 cities that we need more towing companies in. And we have those top 20 cities. So we looked at our database of companies, and then we looked at the top cities, and we said, which cities are we weak in? And basically we came up with a list of 20 companies or 20 cities that we need more towing companies in. And we just put those cities into Facebook, target them with ads like, hey, we need somebody in your city. And we offer a discount to where, hey, the first company to sign up in this area gets this discount. Not automated, but it is nearly automated. Of course, it's taken a lot of time to get to that point, but kind of one way that we are implementing that idea of the local Legion 300. But even in our mature established company, we can look at the areas we need people and target those areas with ads and or phone calls and so on. So hopefully that's helpful. I know it is. I know it's good stuff. Always kind of curious. Have you tried it? Have you used it? What project are you going to try using it on? So let's go back over to the domain names over expireddomains.net, where we're just kind of browsing through some of the domain names that are available over the next week. Learningmastery.com, just went over that one a little bit. Although the more I've talked about that one, I'm not a big fan. Nobody's looking to master learning. Continuing on down the list, I have ice hitting the windows outside, snow on the streets. Coming into the office casually to chat and look through domain names. This is probably along the lines of what I'm probably going to be doing on a typical Monday. or on live sessions if I don't continue to do it on a week. Askmanager.com, aka Karen.com. Oh yeah, that's the most Karen.com domain name ever is askmanager.com. I talk to your manager. Okay. Anyhow. I think it's hilarious. Anybody else out? Is there any LOLs out there? Anybody laugh out loud and stuff like that? Okay. Software cannabis makes 0 cents to me. You know, think about like softwarecannabis.com. That's one of those cases where, hey, we know cannabis is going to be huge. We know software is a major keyword. And some probably rookie domain guy out there said, oh, let's toss them together and try to waste $10 or $20 or $30 since it's been 3 or 4 years since they registered it. And I'm sure I have plenty of domains in my portfolio that did the same thing. Learn by making the mistake myself, unfortunately. Lots of adult domains popping up in here. Marijuana movers. Is that an elaborate way of saying drug dealers? Drug mules? Marijuana movers? Okay. Next page of 200. Let's get that loaded. I'll zoom in for you here. Investors research. Yeah, it is. Matt is agreeing that it's a good day for adult domains. I'm skipping over them, but I've seen quite a few of them that are some reasonable adult domains mixed in there. The only thing about if you mess with adult domains, with porn and different things in the name, you never know. You'd have to research to make sure, and this goes for any of the domains that we ever show. You got to make sure it's not like poisoned, that the domain name's not garbage. And a lot of those adult domains, if it was ever developed, chances are they spammed from the domain name. They probably got blacklisted all over the place to where that domain name is like, it really kills a lot of the factors that we look for in a domain name. So even if it is a good domain name, because somebody previously owned it, it's almost as much of a liability as it is anything else. Where luckily, in most cases, other industries, you're a lot more safe grabbing a premium generic domain name. And Matt, nice to see that that you're watching, listening. Nicelimo.com. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm going to take a break for 1 minute from these lists and just kind of run down a list of the different kinds of businesses that we've put on domain names or that you can put on them. Often people, see that I do membership sites most commonly. Put up a website, people pay a monthly fee to be listed there, local towing companies on towing.com or auto transporters on cartransport.com. And the various, our main business model is what I call internet marketing as a software or as a service. Internet marketing as a service. It's the idea that you help them with their internet marketing, you help them with their internet presence as a service, all from a monthly subscription. So instead of them needing to have a marketing company that's just like working with them on a weekly or daily basis, your service is doing what it can to help them in their small business. Uh, it puts together a lot of pieces of these other business models, and everything can be encompassed under that. But here's some of the ideas. I got them on a list here. Some of the businesses that we've talked about have been the affiliate programs. So this is actually how back in college, I used to sell spy software, and that was through affiliate links. We put up a website. It would list products. This is somewhat common still. People do it with Amazon affiliates, and they will put together maybe a few blog posts or something talking about how to change your life through healthy eating. And then they will have a link to some tools that maybe they mentioned or that can help you with what they were discussing in their blog. So a lot of people, that's how they monetize their blogs. It's how they monetize topical domain names. So for example, if you owned, how about cannabistools.com, one of the domains we saw today, maybe somewhere out there on Amazon or some other website, they sell, I don't know, paraphernalia of some sort, and says, and they sell different paraphernalia or something. So maybe in that case, you find an affiliate, somebody that handles the shipping and everything else, and they just pay you 30% whenever you make a sale to your website. So that's one way to develop a domain name, and so certainly one option. And Dean, you mentioned that audio's popping. I think it's possibly static in our lines and stuff here. So we'll see. So hopefully it's not too bad on the audio. If need be, we can look at it. But I don't see any fluttering on my gauges here, so it's internet related. So affiliate, that's one of the ways that you can certainly monetize a domain name. The second is, we do this quite a bit, or have in the past, advertising and sponsorship. Same thing, if you were running a blog and it was starting to get traffic, you could charge people to show up on the blog or to be in your email list and basically put a banner on the top. So if you were launching cannabistools.com and you had a few hundred people that were visiting it, each month or something, you might be able to find somebody that could pay you $100 a month to put a banner up on the site, or to create a kind of a one-page ad or something on the site that you link to. That's just one of the ways that you can use advertising sponsorships. We do that also on our site, Transport Reviews. We still do some ads and things like that. Especially good if you have traffic. You need that. Our most trafficked site, the one that gets the most traffic, is Transport Reviews. That's why we do some of that over on that site. Let's see, website. Oh, you can provide a service. So maybe you are a website designer, a programmer. There's some service that you actually provide. Maybe you're a bookkeeper or an accountant. Well, you can use a premium domain name where you provide the service in the back end, and then your premium domain name could just be your front end. That's a perfectly acceptable and good way to monetize a domain name. It can increase your services business, especially if you offer like nationwide or worldwide service. So especially maybe if you do virtual therapy or something like that. Could you imagine if you were a virtual therapist and you owned virtualtherapist.com? Needless to say, your time would be booked and you'd be hiring other therapists to fill that time, because you'd have a great domain name and people would assume that you are the authority in that industry. You're valid in everything you pretty much do. Basically, it gives you a heads up, and that domain name takes care of growing your business over time, and you provide the back-end service. There's lead sites. I get quite a few. Yeah, okay, so just on the audio thing, I believe that it is going to be related to the internet. There's unfortunately not a ton I can do about it, because I don't see it on any of my dials. Everything kind of is nice and clean. So if it's too much, I can always restart. But we're only a few minutes left anyways. So, okay. So back to leads. Lead sites are probably the most, it's where it's bare knuckle brawl business, internet business. Let's go over to the screens real quick. I'm going to, let's see, SEM Rush. So I'm going over to SEM Rush. I'm going to take this off my screen just for 1 second, just in case I need to log in or anything. Nope, I do not. So let's say that we are wanting to sell leads. Let's see, what kind of industries do we have out there? Let me see who all is here. Let me see if I can find an industry that. Okay, I'm just going to go with something I know pretty well, and if somebody gives me another industry, I can try to look at. But we work a lot in car transport, so that's moving a vehicle long distance. We run websites in that industry, and I used to sell leads in that industry. The bare knuckle brawl that happens in leads, and this is why it's a great opportunity for somebody with a great domain name, is leads are essentially here. This here is what I'm trying to show you. Companies pay up to $4.65 per click. That's cost per click that they are paying to get a click or originating from the keyword cartransport.com or car transport. I'm sorry. So we know that companies are paying $4.65 for a click. That means that for those companies, they value a click up to $4.65. So it's pretty safe to say that they value a lead. So somebody that is going to be shipping their car and they're just looking for prices or whatever else, it's going to be between $10 to $20 or more that they value that lead at. And a lead, operating a lead site, is pretty much just saying, well, I have a great domain name and people are coming to that domain name that are looking for these services for car transport or whatever. So you're just doing what comes naturally. Great domain name, has traffic, these people are looking, and we're just going to sell these leads, these customers, these potential customers off to the companies that are already paying upward of $4.60 for a click. So now you're like, hey, we'll sell you these leads, $20 each. They'll be yours exclusively, or we can sell them to you and another company for $10 each. You just have to find those companies. Now, how are you going to find the companies to buy those leads? Well, how about you just go and do a search for cartransport.com, find the companies that are already paying per click, and you reach out to some of them or reach out to their customers who are getting their leads and so on. It's bare knuckle brawl business because basically it's just great. It's like just doing the work. You just got to do the work. Yeah. What information do you need from the customer? You put it on a form on your domain name, and then you get that information. You're like, what email address do you want me to send this information to, Mr. Customer, that is willing to pay me $10 to $20 for this lead? And then you just send them that information. That's it. Like that's all lead site is. So if you have to make money and you have a great domain name and you think leads is the way to do it, all too often I hear people that kind of kick that can down the road. This is, it's a few phone calls. You make 20 calls, you will find somebody that is willing to pay you per lead, and just ask them for a credit card and just let them know you charge them each week or every time you get up to $100 or something like that. And they either like what you do or they cancel it off, and then you find somebody else. It's really, it's basic business. You just find somebody, they already have a need. They're paying over $4 per click. They're willing to pay you the money. You just have to put it in front of them and let them know you can do it, and then be able to do it. Very basic tech, very basic application. Leads is the introductory web business. If you want to monetize a domain, you do leads. Now, it does not give you the opportunity to scale, to do many different things that I believe a domain name allows you to do, as far as subscriptions and a lot of cool business growth. But what it does allow you to do is turn a domain name into some leads, into some money. And for many of us out there that are looking to develop a domain name, that's it. Like that's all you're looking to do. I highly recommend you don't do leads. I love membership stuff. I think it can be applied to nearly every domain that you would ever put leads on it. But yes, it requires a lot more experience and stuff. So put up a lead site and then move towards membership as you get more comfortable and develop your skills. Awesome. Michael, I'm coming to your question because realistically, you're here every week, man. I want to make sure I get you what you would like as far as questions and so on. So have you give some early leads at the beginning for free? So this is kind of the chicken and egg thing with leads. Typically leads, you're going to be dealing with businesses. So these are going to be, you're going to be dealing with businesses. They're used to paying for it. It's possibly my experience speaking and the fact that I don't need to go through those scrappy conversations, but the answer is no. The simple answer is no. I don't give away free business to customers. I just don't do it. I don't like giving businesses free business. Now, the question, and here's one of the questions, just to follow up to this next piece here, Michael. You mentioned just to prove yourself. So my question back to your original is, if you have a good enough domain name that you're going to sell leads and you think that domain name gives you an advantage, your domain name will provide you that proof. Hopefully that it's going to validate you. It's going to give you the authority necessary to call up those companies and just confidently say, hey, I am with, domain 123 and we sell great, we have customers that are always coming to our domain name and we want to hand those customers over to you. Will you pay us $10 every time we do? What contact information do you need? Or we see that on your lead form on your website, you have this, and this. If we provide that, will you pay us $10? And boom, you're proven by your domain name. And that's one of the key things. So if you don't feel proven, then realistically, maybe you either need a different domain name or more likely you need to just find another customer, somebody else to buy those leads. I always say, where I talk to my sales team, you have to make 100 calls before you ever get one sale. 100 calls. So if you know that you want to make money, if you know you want to sell these leads, just count on making 100 calls. Just know. And I have a sheet. I don't have it printed off. I have a sheet that I give my salespeople. It's called the no sheet. And it's the idea that it's just 100 check boxes with one checkbox in the bottom for yes. And you're making all your calls and you're just counting your no's because eventually you're going to get a yes. So a lot of people are scared. They're scared. We want everybody to love what we do as much as what we love what we do. So we don't want to ever hear somebody say no, or they're not interested, or they don't believe in it like we do. And even now, even as an entrepreneur, I'm still fragile when it comes to like when we first put our ideas out there and we're like, we've developed this and we really think it's going to be great for your business. And we hand it over and we're like, please, will you pay us for this? We think it's going to solve your problem. And before we ever do that, we always have to remember we're going to hear no a lot. So whenever you hear no, you have to learn. Like you're in a learning process. No, and then why not? What is it that we can tweak? What would it take to make you a customer? And you're just learning. You're just marketing research as of that point, and you've already heard no. Ignore that person, other than what knowledge you can pull out of them to make what you're doing better. Gosh, I hope that's helpful, because don't be scared of no. If I was to write a sales book for an entry level company, it would be, don't be scared of no. Don't be scared of no. Absolutely, just steer into no. The key thing is you have to learn every time you hear it. You have to learn as much as possible. Okay, well, I hear no. every time I call, before I ever get to even tell them about my product. Well, you need to change something about what you're doing at the beginning. It's not enough to just call here. No, you have to, okay, you have to get to a different place in the conversation. So how do you get to where, treat it like chess. It's like chess. You have to figure out a way to get to something other than no, and maybe you'll get a no thank you. And then eventually you're going to get a yes, and then you go and celebrate because love yeses. I love it. Okay, so let me continue down the list of, we've talked about affiliate sites, selling ads or sponsorships. You can provide the service. You can use the domain development as your front end. We can do lead sites. That's what we were talking about. And with all of these, you may have to hear a lot of no's before you ever get to that one person stepping out there that's willing to say yes and pay you money. Just know that, hey, you're going to hear no a lot. But the person that pays you money, they may love you. They may be like somebody that you that's customer for years. I have numerous customers, dozens of customers that have been with me for well over 10 years. I'm guessing we have quite a few that have been with us for over 15 years. 15 years. Nuts. Crazy. But it's awesome. Like, you just got to find the right ones. They weren't the ones that said no at the beginning. They were the ones that said, yeah, let's try this out. And they've been with me ever since. Okay, next one is directory. I love directories. It's one of the first things I ever do with a domain name. You put up a domain name. You have a lead page on the front where you're just kind of like, hey, what are you here for? And then eventually you put up a directory that shows independent companies on it. It's what we love to do. It's how you implement the local Legion 300. You share that domain name. And a lot of times when you do directories, what you're doing is, especially on a premium domain name, one of those key things, let me go back to the sheet we have over here, if I can depile my desk from paperwork. If you remember this over here, one of these key things is scarcity. Only one person can own a premium domain name. Only one person can own towing.com. So it's scarce. Only one person can own it. So, well, we share that. We share that with all those local companies, and a directory is the way that we monetize that scarcity. So the other is classified sites. These are touch old lists. Think Craigslist, but better, because Craigslist is, well, not good, but people still use it because they know it, because classifieds are needed. There needs to be a simple way to sell stuff. So along the lines of classifieds are job sites. These are Peter Eskew. He puts up cooljobs.com, ranchwork.com, and we purchased mechanicjobs.com from him. And job sites are a form of classifieds, but what does every business out there need to do? Well, almost every business. Eventually, they need to hire somebody. Well, you're just helping them do that through your niche website. So you can do classifieds, you can sell product services through there, provide tools for people to do it, or of course, jobs falls under that category as well. And then one of my favorites that I've done, and I love it. It's a great business, very highly sought after by people that are looking to buy businesses, is SaaS, software as a service. You can put up some kind of program that solves a customer problem. So know what industry you're working in. For example, I own a domain name. I own quite a few that are in the area of dispatching. So we own dispatchdesk.com. And I hold on to that domain name under the idea that eventually we can create a simple dispatch tool that people can use when we used to ship vehicles nationwide, and we'd always have to dispatch. And it's very chaotic. You have all these different things that you need to move, all these different companies that you could use, and the coming together, all those matching up of lines. It's like those old puzzles we used to do as kids where it's like all kinds of crazy lines. You got to connect a or a color or something to something that would be that color. And it's like lines all together. You got to trace the line with your finger. I feel like that is often what dispatching is like. And if we can come up with some basic tools to allow those companies to simplify their dispatching, we can have some SaaS software as a service. They pay us a flat fee or a monthly fee, and they get to use our tools that are hosted on our domain name, dispatchdesk.com. Makes sense. Premium domain name, has authority, has validation, almost says exactly what, like, it just makes sense. A little more of a brandable domain name, but you get the picture. So software as a service, I just out of college, actually I was still in college, I ran I created a customer, basically a CRM, like a customer relationship management software that handled the quotes and orders and things for auto transporters. And they paid me like $250 a month or something to parse a bunch of quotes, put them in a database. They responded to them to the software. Easy peasy. Was good money and a lot of fun. Helped a lot of businesses out. And then finally, the hybrid options are clubs, associations, masterminds. Those are hundreds, thousands, well, a lot of businesses out there join the Chamber of Commerce. They join different Better Business Bureaus and things like that, partly just because they want to be around other businesses that are doing things, but they also want to use those networks and so on, where they're networking with other like-minded people around similar industries. If you have a great domain name, why don't you facilitate that? You can do that through forums. Forums are old school, but if you curate those forums, certainly could work. I know in the domain industry, we have forums that a significant number of people participate in, just because it is a curated mastermind area where a lot of topical, we're all around domain names in a certain area, all sharing information. Forums, mastermind groups, clubs, associations, all those fall into that kind of hybrid solution. And then our internet marketing as a service, an industry portal. You're the front door to an entire industry, whether it's duct cleaners, towing.com, helicopter rides, whatever it is, you are the front door to that industry, to where the public knows to go there, or they can understand that you are the access to all things in that industry, whether it's products, services, local companies, buying, whatever it is, you can be the doorway. So I think that's about it. So that's mostly a review. I kind of feel like I could almost just do this every single week and just review and dive into it and see what kind of questions come up. So thank you, Michael, for your questions. And hopefully I kind of was helpful with that. I've had people ask me about lead sites, especially lately, and I love lead sites. If I was to go back and tell like the 18-year-old, 19-year-old Drew where to start, it would probably be a lead site. And just so happens that that's actually some of my earliest businesses were lead sites. Made a lot of money with it. The downsides of lead sites, I'll just tell you, is the lead sites are feast or famine. When you get a lot of leads, you make a lot of money. And if you go through a period like quarantine or something like that, where your business dies, you don't make money, and you're left in, it doesn't have the security that I experienced from other business models. So, okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for the interactions, the questions. I am over on Twitter, and I welcome you to continue to tweet at me, Drew Wash, at Drew Wash over on Twitter. I love talking about this stuff, and I love to do it publicly, so that way our conversations can help others. I will say this: if you have not, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, and that's because I'm teetering on the idea of not doing a 3 p.m. show. Currently, I plan on continuing to do it next week, but soon I may get rid of the 3 p.m. Monday time slot and just start to do random live streams. And if that's the case, you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. So just hit subscribe, as well as like this video while you're there. And also go to domaintoprofit.com, domaintoprofit.com, and join our mailing list, because if we're going to do something that isn't around Twitter or whatever else, it's going to go up to that email address, and we're going to let you know. So make sure you join that mailing list with your email address, so that way you can figure out whatever it is that we're going to be doing next. Until then, I'll see you back for week 31 next week, 3 p.m. I'll go ahead and commit to that. I say one more week. We'll see. We'll see. All righty. Thank you, everybody. Take care.